What's up, Culture Junkies? It's your boy Kenshiro. We're back with another great episode of Culture Junkies Live, episode 205 if you're keeping count. Today we're going to be talking about the spring anime season, the Resident Evil 3 demo that came out last Thursday, but we're also going to be talking about a couple of other interesting things that are going on with the world kind of in quarantine right now. To my right is Mr. GQ in his Dr. Doom jacket. In front of me is the great Dadakuji. And in remote, we've got great friend, Fallen Marvel, and coming back to the show for the first time in a long time,
It has been a while.
Mr. Megashawn. How you doing, my friend?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. How's everybody doing?
We're doing great. We're doing great. I
Hanging
hope
in
everybody is staying safe and practicing social distancing, unlike the rebels that are in this room together with me.
Basically, so you're 6 feet away from me.
I'm 6 feet away. This
so.
guy is not six. Well, no, he's not. He's not quite 6 feet away. He's not. he's not quite 6 feet away, but he's far enough.
First of all, look, 6 feet is one thing, but guess what? If you touch a surface, you're gonna get infected. So that's just how it is.
You're not really helping.
I don't care. I look at it. Look. You already know. It's a virus. It is what it is. It's gonna kill people. It's gonna do what it does.
Wow. Okay, way to have
Thanos
compassion
was
for
right.
your fellow man.
Hey, I went to a store yesterday. It was the best experience ever. There was so few people in that store.
bet.
It was the best thing. I want it to be like this 24/7. I want it to literally be people scared to even make eye contact. Like
Real.
the store was empty and it was a perfect shopping experience. I want this 24/7. So let's schedule a pandemic for winter.
Ah, wow. Okay.
Well, that'd be hell of a something, like during winter holiday season, especially with supposed new gen gaming machines coming out. And
Hey, look, that's even better. Then I'll be able to enjoy my PlayStation 5 in the comfort of my home with absolutely nobody else to worry about.
Hey, you're playing too much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow.
Pandemic, man, whatever. It is what it is. People gotta stop being so scared of themselves.
Scared of themselves? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I feel you. So anyway, y'all, we hope everybody is staying safe, but we thought, the show should still go on. We're going to hopefully entertain you for the next 90 minutes and keep it brisk and move quickly through our topics. So let's go ahead and first one.
Random fandoms.
So today is the last week, I guess, officially of the winter anime season. It has been rough. It's been rough to kind of get through. I don't know about you, Dado, or you, Fallen Marvel. How many anime have you watched this winter? But man, like I remember when we were first talking about the winter anime season, we were kind of excited. There were some pretty interesting shows. Like remember Orphan? Remember I said Orphan was coming back? Dude,
Yeah.
Orphan was like one of the worst shows of the winter. I kid you not. It was literally one of the worst shows. It was terrible to watch. Even the one that I kind of really liked, Inspector. It was drag to get through because it was a lot of incessant talking, not really a lot of action. It was like a detective show, tried to be a mystery, tried to be a romance, but it dragged on for forever. Anyway, so the spring anime season is about to be here. As we all know, the spring anime season is usually kind of like the best one. If it's not the spring, then it's definitely the fall, right? So actually today, if you're watching on Facebook, I actually put out on Facebook and on Twitter an article on culturejunkies.net explaining my most hyped up or most the ones that I'm looking forward to the absolute most this spring. One of them this spring obviously is Tower of God. If you've never heard of Tower of God, it's a Korean manhwa. It's immensely popular. But Crunchyroll picked it up as one of their quote-unquote Crunchyroll originals. So Tower of God, I'm looking forward to. I don't know if either of you Fallen Marvel, have you heard of Tower of God before?
I have quite a few friends that
Read
talked
it?
about the manga
Yeah.
vehemently. So
Yeah.
I've a lot of what I heard about Tower of God, I've heard from them. So of course they were extra excited about
Right.
it getting picked up on Crunchyroll. So
Yeah.
that makes me more inclined to check it out. But yeah, I've heard nothing but good things about the series.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes, Megatron. What is the question?
You know, I know I haven't been here in a while, but my
Yeah.
question is for those who are not aware of there being a anime season or seasons, what
Okay.
shows usually come out spring, winter, fall, summer?
It usually changes. It rotates because there's a lot of anime to get to. There's so many manga and anime properties that are out there, and obviously animators need time to actually produce the shows, right? They can't have them all year round. Not every show is going to be like a One Piece. Not every show is going to be a Naruto or a Boruto. That basically comes out week after week and has a whole bunch of fillers. They don't have that kind of cachet, so they kind of need to take breaks, like My Hero Academia. My Hero Academia easily could come on every single week, and I think everybody would be happy, right?
Roughly, yeah.
I believe. I honestly, I believe that the animators making a conscious decision not to inundate it with fillers, so they actually take a break for like 1 or 2 seasons, and there's 4 seasons in the year, so there's 4 anime seasons. There's winter, spring, summer, fall, and usually there is a break in the action, so they animate some episodes and they come back maybe in the fall season or the winter season with brand new episodes. So every season usually gets around like 12 episodes now. Like that's considered a season, is 12 episodes. Unless you're doing an extended run and you do like from spring into summer, then you might get 24 to 25 episodes. Depends. Depends on how popular a show is. Like Rising of the Shield Hero, that was 25 episodes. And most people had kind of expected it to be 12, but I think they were glad that it was 25.
And I wonder if there's going to be more.
Oh, there's going to be more. There's absolutely going to be more. But anyway, so back to kind of what I was saying. So hopefully that answers your question, Megatron. But
Yes, it does. Thank you.
you're welcome. So Tower God was one that I'm looking forward to. That was the one that I'm looking forward to. That was like the best new show that I'm looking forward to. The best returning show that I'm looking forward to is Food Wars Season 5. Now,
Yes.
Food Wars Season 5 is going to be, unfortunately for fans of you out there, this is going to be the end of the manga. This is literally the end of the story. This is the last season that they can make of Food Wars. After this, it's over. And it's been. I thought it feels like it's been longer, but it's been 5 years.
It's been 5 years.
Yeah, it's been 5 years since Food Wars first came out.
It's been 5 years.
Yeah.
My goodness.
So that's my favorite returning show. And obviously, if you don't know, I've already read the manga and finished it. Of course.
Oh, so it's done.
Yeah, the manga's done.
Yeah.
The
Okay, cool.
manga's been done for almost a year.
See, I'm happy when that happens.
Yeah. The manga's been done for almost a year, so now the anime is going to wrap up. So
Cool.
basically, this season, he beat Erina's father. Now he's meeting a guy that actually has someone's beaten a guy or is going against a guy that has beaten his father.
Oh boy.
And someone's never beaten his father in cooking before. But also this guy is gunning after Erina and says, I'm going to marry her because I'm the only person worthy to be married to the God Tongue, basically. So
It's like shit the hell if she married whoever the hell she wants.
right. But anyway, so I'm looking forward to that. And then let me see, I'm trying to remember here. The next show that I'm looking forward to, the best returning show that I'm looking forward to is Kaguya-sama Love is War Season 2. So if you haven't seen Kaguya-sama yet, right? The show is hilarious. If you never seen it before.
Never seen it.
Dude, you gotta watch it.
So much freaking anime, and even though I watch an episode every single day, it's still hard to get caught up. I don't really like sit at home and watch anime too much because after work I fall asleep, and I don't want to start something that I'm gonna fall asleep to. So that's why I watch my anime at work. So I'm consistently watching My Hero Academia, Vinland Saga, which I think was a winner.
Dude, that was a great show.
I haven't finished yet. I'm on episode 12.
Great show.
But the Food Wars, I just started 4th plate because I was waiting for my dear lovely wife so she can watch it with me because I know she likes Food Wars as well. And I'm looking forward to that 5th plate. But yeah, I'll tack stuff on to watch because as long as I have enough to watch, I'm good. I always got to have something to watch in my on my lunchtime. I do see something here that's supposed to be coming back that I'm looking forward to, and they got a new. Back in the day, it was OVA. Now we got ONA. What's ONA supposed to be?
ONA is original net animation.
Okay, so Baki's second season, which I didn't know.
Is an ONA.
I didn't even know the first season was one season. I thought because the way Netflix split it up. So I'm looking forward to seeing Baki because I do like grappler Baki, old-fashioned, violent, fighting, very light on story. Doesn't bother me when stuff is light on story. When they got just a lot of action and it's not Dragon Ball action, which is fine with me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Baki's story has always been interesting. At least that was the one thing that it. Besides the fact that it was just a good series, that's the one thing that actually worked for that particular anime. Was the action was good, the story was actually compelling, and the violence, like I said, was on point. Some of the other animes that come out, it's just, I think what it is with the mangas having so many different volumes and chapters and installments, and then you have a series that has to go on air to try to fill all of that. It's just like, okay, that's really annoying. Just give me a movie. And I think that's kind of what the problem I run into with a lot of anime, and the reason I don't really watch as much stuff is because it's like, I don't feel like catching up to 15,000 episodes. I'm not going to watch it. I don't care.
Right, because it's like a lot of people are saying, "Oh man, you're under this quarantine. Time to watch One Piece." No, it's not.
And see, the thing is, I can understand that. I really can. Being the fact, the reason why I still watch One Piece because I started watching it many years ago.
Well, you started from the beginning.
Yeah, and I did. I started from the beginning. I started back before Crunchyroll existed, where they had the Kaizoku fan subs, if I remember correctly, and they were putting out fan subs left and right, and I was just like, well, might as well watch it now. And but anything that's super long, like Vinland Saga is 25 episodes. I think it's done after 25 episodes. Most stuff is relatively short, so. I have no problem with that, but I do understand what you're saying because I've been wanting to get into Gintama for like forever, and Gintama I think is like Naruto and One Piece and all them. I think
it has a whole bunch of fillers.
Yeah. I don't know nothing about the manga, so it wouldn't even be like filler. I guess you can kind of tell what is a filler and what's not just by watching it, but it seems like something that I would start to watch, but then there's other things that I want to watch.
I think what it is with me is like, okay, for example, some people will say, okay, well, yeah, you watch Dragon Ball Super. Well, it's, for one, because it's interesting. For two, because, yes, they're going to do more eventually, but it has an end. There's 10 Blu-rays that came out, and that thing is done for right now. So at least there's an ending to it. So it's like, okay, I can go to the store and buy all 10 seasons and watch it versus... something like Naruto, it's like, dude, you know how long it would take to go back and watch all of that?
Exactly,
it's
man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not even going to bother.
And speaking to your point, because you're a collector, you love collecting and putting stuff in, optical discs in your collection. Imagine trying to get all of Naruto and putting it in your collection, right? It's like, it's not quite.
I do.
Dragon Ball Z, rather.
Yeah, but Dragon Ball Z, that's like 300 episodes.
I don't really like Dragon Ball.
I won't watch Dragon Ball.
See, that's 300 episodes. Naruto is like 2 times that.
Oh yeah.
So I'm just saying, like, imagine the VH. Remember back in the day we would get VHSs, what it would be like 2 or 3 episodes per VHS.
My
Dude,
gripe
no
and
way.
rant is still going to be Angel Cop.
Yeah.
Angel Cop is still, to this day, the worst release schedule ever. 1 episode per
tape.
With a $30 price tag if you wanted the sub version.
Yeah.
That was
and it was
some ass.
6 VHS tapes. And then a year later, they came out with all of it on 1 tape.
So let me pass it around to not only the junkies. I want to ask all you guys out there. I would love to hear from you in the chat. What are you guys looking forward to this anime season? But Fallen Marvel, is there any ones out there that you're looking forward to this season? Getting ready to come out.
Aside from Tower of God, it's not really too much because I've been really trying my best to keep track of a lot of the shows that are coming out. So it's really at this point just whatever catches my eye.
Okay.
At this point, so
I got one for you.
Yeah.
Right? Did you like Kill la Kill?
Yeah, I thought Kill la Kill was dope.
What about Darling? What about Darling in the Franxx?
Didn't see that.
Didn't see it. What about you, Dido? Did you like Darling in the Franxx?
No.
No, you didn't like it.
I
Okay,
didn't see it.
you didn't see it. What about Gurren Lagann? Did you guys like Gurren
I
Lagann?
started Gurren Lagann,
I
and
liked it.
I didn't never finished it because it was something about the characters in it that just like
Okay.
they just like
I-
my younger
I
days. I think
finished
I would
it.
have
I
got
liked
past it.
Okay, so Studio Trigger is basically bringing out a new show, and it's called Brand New Animal, BNA. And,
Oh,
you know,
yeah, I see that.
Yeah, so BNA is one, and if you go to my article, the trailers are there, so you can see them if you want to. So BNA is one, and I was looking for this show called Gleipnir looks really interesting. Like it could be really wild, like unexpected. It looks, I mean, literally something visually about it looks like a pretty interesting show. And then remember Carol and Tuesday, like when it came out last year, like that was kind of like
Netflix. I didn't watch
yeah,
it, but
like
it's in my
Carol and
queue.
Carol and Tuesday was like a sleeper hit because like everybody fell in love with the music and the animation and stuff like that. So there's this show called Listeners that to me seems like it might end up being like the Carol and Tuesday of this season.
Something that looks interesting to me is called No Guns
Life. That's
Yeah.
that was another one that probably would be pretty good. I think that's in his second season. I watched the first episode of, and I wanted to include it, but technically it came out in the previous, anime
Isn't that on Crunchyroll?
season. No,
Ugh.
it's not.
Ugh.
I was going
not
to say,
searching for anime
but
like
a show that started last winter in the winter anime season, but just came back is Tenchi Muyo.
Oh, yeah.
I heard about
Yeah,
that.
the fifth OVA is out, and I watched the first episode, so I'm very much looking forward to more. So I can't wait to see that. So let me check the chat, see if there's
Isn't
any.
that anime old?
Tenchi Muyo?
Yeah.
It's
Very
not-
old.
yeah,
Like
so
that's
what?
20 plus years.
It's new.
What's
It's
wrong
like
with
Dragon
what?
Ball Super. It's a continuation.
But Dragon Ball deserves to be continued.
Wow.
Tenchi was kind of like, yeah.
Really?
Well, you can say that about almost anything because you only
I
like
can say,
five anime.
Exactly. I can say that about almost every anime
the
you
only
guys bring up.
things it's like the only thing about Tenchi that I just was always befuddled about is like the 3 different series that they had that told different versions of the same story, and it was kind of hard to keep up.
Yeah, I didn't quite
But
understand.
other than that, I was fairly entertained by the series. So I mean, to see it come back, I mean, to me, like as far as harem anime, to me that's like the best to do it in my opinion.
That's the best way to do it. Is in Tenchi?
Yeah.
I don't
For
know,
me,
man. Okay, I don't know.
Hand
I'm
of
just
Omega
saying
said
for me
Doraemon,
because there was
so-
a lot there was a lot of entertaining characters in it for me. For me personally, I found a lot of the characters in the anime entertaining.
He just
so.
throwing shit out there. Stop throwing wild shit out there, Han. Get serious.
Well,
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong
That's
with
what
it.
he
If he
does.
like, if he
But
likes
that's what he
Doraemon,
does.
if he likes Doraemon,
he
then
ain't watching Doraemon. He just throwing wild ass shit out there.
whatever.
Just throw something see if it sticks.
whatever. I wish I
Right.
had the Sonic the Hedgehog sound effect because
Mike,
this topic is over.
Mike King is he's probably right. And if I miss some, I apologize. But Mike King is right. Assassination Classroom is amazing.
Yeah, it was. That was
It wasn't. It
Oh,
was
yeah,
an amazing one.
definitely.
Yeah. Actually, Sharita Jackson says High School DxD is I guess her favorite harem anime. Maybe way to do it.
You know what my favorite harem anime was?
Ramen?
Tenjo
Tenjo Tenge?
Yeah.
Okay, I knew he was going to say that. Yeah, okay.
That's
All
all I
right,
remember.
so we're going to wrap up this topic and move along to the next one because I think GQ is very eagerly awaiting this next topic. So let's go ahead and hit it.
Sample the merchandise.
All right, everybody. So I guess we're going to take over with a topic that works in this survival.
Ow.
This survival environment that we're sitting in. Resident Evil 3 remake had a demo that dropped. I believe it was last Thursday, actually. And for y'all out there that have heard of this game, you need to just go ahead and after the show download the demo and play it because that is an amazing demo. And I know certain people on the panel have played it, so I'm going to go ahead and turn it on over to we'll start with Fallen Marvel because you played it, sir, haven't you?
Yes, I have a very fresh take of it from last night.
You hear that hesitancy in his
Wow.
voice?
Exactly.
You hear that?
Because look, I'm starting off top. I'm not a horror guy. That's number one. I'm
Not a
nowhere
horror guy or
Wait a
a horror guy?
horror
Okay.
guy.
Oh,
It sounded like you said hard.
It
I'm
did
like,
sound like you said
I
hard.
definitely thought he
Like,
said hard. I definitely thought he said hard.
Like, what
I was
show did you
what
think you
in
signed
the
up to be?
hell?
Blame the Midwest accent,
Family
okay,
friendly,
but
bro.
horror.
Right.
Okay? But anyway, the thing is, off tops, I'm not into horror that heavy like that. So it's playing this game and especially trying to call myself gaining confidence after finally playing Resident Evil 2 Remake and completing it. This demo basically threw all confidence that I had in the trash. Okay.
well.
So I have to say that overall, the RE engine, like they can't go anywhere but up with that. The game looks amazing, even in comparison to Resident Evil 2, which I didn't think it was going to look that much better, but it really does. You can tell the difference.
Dude, the game looked
But,
gorgeous.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a very gorgeous looking game. And the thing is, the way this game is set up, like there are some things that's familiar about it. If you played enough of 2, but it definitely feels different because it's the environment, like it's like the way they set the environment up. It's way too wide open, whereas Resident Evil 2 was more contained. So it's like there's danger around every corner at this point. Like you don't know what's gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that is a stressful ass game right now already, and it's just the demo.
Yeah, I think
Dude, I was laughing my ass off though.
Played it.
No, yeah, because I was playing it and going through, and when Nemesis showed up, I'm just like, yes, stars, and then I'm trying to run through, but because like it is a lot different, of course, than how the original was, because you can't see shit, especially when you're in that donut shop and you're trying to run around. I was like, okay, I gotta run this safe route. Let me compose myself, see what's going on. All right,
He said compose himself.
so I run out. And I managed to get past him, and then motherfucker jumped on the stairs. I was like, all right, let me turn back around, run back in this donut shop. And then I ran out the other way, and then it was coming out there. I was like, all right, this is going to be interesting because, like,
you know what the funny thing is?
He's tentacle swinging everywhere.
He first of all, he has the tentacle grab. He has the leap where he jumps in front of you and blocks your path.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out how do you get into the donut shop though?
No, he walked in the donut shop, dude.
Like, but
Why would you go first?
But no. Here's the thing: the door is not tall enough for him.
He walked in the fucking donut shop.
I know he can get in there. I know he can get in there because, like, one of the ways I took him out was like I let him come into the donut shop, but I'm trying to figure out how he got to the door. But anyway, once he gets in the donut shop, you got those different what do you want to call them? Booths to get around.
Oh yeah, you can easily hide on the other side and keep walking around him and take him down.
But that's what 2 hand grenades is for. But you hit him with 2 hand grenades.
I wasn't even trying to do that. I was trying to run away.
You found 2 hand grenades? I only found one.
I found one hand grenade.
Y'all got to explore, man.
Yeah, okay.
Here's the thing.
I only found one.
Yeah, I only found the one.
Well, you see, here's the thing. Full disclosure, because Daitakuji was there. I want to ask Kenshiro what his thoughts on this game were, because last time he played a horror game,
Oh my God.
was
And the lights were on.
yeah, the lights, yeah, it was a game.
we
It
go
was a
with
game
this.
called
And
Outlast.
he had the lights on.
Here we go with this bullshit.
Right.
No, I hate that. Never mind.
Hey, it's your reaction.
Never mind.
That's-
Okay.
that's not our fault.
The game was fine for me.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
So
the
how'd
game's
you
fine,
handle
man.
Nemesis then?
Oh, Nemesis was fine. I was excited to see him.
Dude, I
Just
laughed.
look, Nemesis, like I told you before, Nemesis, Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, I bought the game because of Nemesis. I was like, dude, Nemesis looks cool.
You mean the original one?
Yeah. I was like, that was the first Resident Evil game I bought because of Nemesis. Because I liked what this dude could do. It's like it was the first time you were facing a dude that didn't move slow, wasn't a zombie, and he was aggressively coming after you. No, he wasn't like a Jason, hey, I'm gonna walk and eventually I'll catch up. No, this motherfucker was coming after you.
Knocking through walls and shit.
No, knocking through walls.
But you
And see,
started that with Mr. X in part 2, though.
right.
Well,
But see,
Right.
okay.
Mr.
so-
X who? I'm sorry, who?
Right.
I'm talking
Who-
about in
who
part
was that?
2, 'cause
Right.
I'm talking
No,
about playing.
who is that? I don't recognize who that is. I only recognize Nemesis at this point.
Well, I understand what you're getting at. I'm talking about back when I was playing on the
On the
original
original
PlayStation and playing through them, in sequential order. It's like it kind of prepared you for that because he did kind of do the exact same thing. So Nemesis, even in the original, did have that tentacle, and he was able to still,
Oh yeah.
No,
do all
bro.
that stuff.
Because
So.
like what sold it for me for Nemesis in the original is that motherfucker broke out the rocket launcher. I was like, dog.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah,
dude,
when they
this is
dropped
ridiculous.
When they dropped it, yeah.
I was like,
holy
no.
Oh, they
okay.
dropped his cases and stuff.
Yeah. I was like, okay.
Man.
I was like, this dude is hardcore. I love this guy. So anyway, I'm playing through the demo. Demo's great. Demo was absolutely phenomenal. I think the character models look incredible.
Hold on, wait a minute. Are the
Yeah.
lights on or are the lights off?
Oh, when I was
Lights
playing
off.
it,
I don't think it matters.
No,
Playing
you
that
know
game,
what
it
he's
doesn't
asking
matter.
me, right? He's asking me, did I have the lights on or the lights are off? Actually, I played him there was no lights down where I was at, but I played it. It was like 7 in the evening, something like that. I was on my computer.
So in other words, it was still light.
There wasn't no light downstairs. You know, you see my
whatever.
basement. I'm like, didn't have the lights on.
Whatever.
So it was already nearing sunset, so it was dark enough.
Nearing sunset.
Wow,
Did y'all
this
hear
guy.
that?
Anyway,
Nearing sunset.
I'm not
In Michigan, that means that
I'm not going to
the
be
lights
party
is
to
still
any
bright.
of this nonsense.
He's
Just be
down
quiet.
there-
Just be
Down
quiet
there
and
with
let
a
me finish.
Superman lamp on. He's down there with a Superman lamp.
Hey man, is it too late to kick him off the show? Like
Nah.
he's already here. He's causing
Man.
mischief. Anyway,
Look, all I got to say is for me, it don't matter whether the light is
Okay.
on or off. Either
Right.
way it goes for me, because even with this game, it's like one of those things where you think you could prepare for this game, and then the game kicks in, and it's like, what do you mean prepare? There is no preparing for me
right.
at all.
And I guess that brings up that point. Like he said, there is no preparing necessarily for Nemesis, because it's like, okay, we all went through the demo. Obviously, we went through it in
prepared
different
for
ways,
Nemesis.
right? So
Mm-hmm.
I get the shotgun, out of the railway station, come out, go into the donut shop, and I hit the save point. I hit the safe space and the save point. I get ready to come out of the donut shop. Nemesis is right there. He's converting zombies, number one.
Yeah,
I'm
sorry.
like, dude,
Right.
come on. And it's like, so he's converting zombies. Then he reaches out, grabs me, and I'm like, okay, that's fine. Then I tried to stand my ground, but I was like, you know what? I'm not really ready. So I ran upstairs. This fool chased after me, of course. Knocked me down, grabbed me up again. So I get away. And I'm like, damn, I'm still not, I'm still not really ready. So let me go over and head to where this fire hydrant is, put the fire hose on, turn off the fire. Fool breaks through the wall.
I laughed
And-
when that happened.
Dog,
was
I
like,
did too.
yes!
I was like, dog.
I'm like, yes, dude.
Yeah. Fool breaks through the wall, demos ends. I was a little disappointed the demo was that short.
Yeah,
But
that's,
see,
that's the same thing.
I was
happened to
just
me.
I was a little disappointed.
But here's the thing. I don't mind it being that short because the game comes out in April.
Yeah. So and I'm
I
fine with
won't
that.
be buying it till $20.
Of course. No, I'll get it.
Yeah, I'm getting it.
I'll get it early.
Yeah, you guys go ahead and
I'll
get
get it early.
That's fine and dandy, because I still got 2 more Resident Evils that I need to play.
I do as
as
well.
other
Yeah, me
stuff.
too.
I still haven't. I'm
Me
still
too.
gonna,
I just, to me, it's no point.
Load
Is-
up the arsenal, Dido.
Yeah.
Don't
I'm just
wait.
saying there's literally no point in me buying it when I know it's going to be $20, because I got Resident Evil 2 for freaking $20. I'll let it sit on the shelf.
That's not going to be $20 anytime soon.
Dude,
G.
when
I'm
did
telling
Resident
you.
Evil 2 come out? Came out last
Like-
year, right?
This was a while ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I got it last year for $20.
Yep.
Quick,
So-
quick question.
Yeah.
D,
Yeah.
how much are you gonna pay for that game?
$20.
He'll play free
No.
99 if he has a choice.
I need you to say it how you said it the first time. How much are you gonna pay for that game? Oh, okay. I just wanted to be clear.
This guy.
I just wanted.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
$20, man. Because like, it's if I'm gonna buy it and it's gonna sit on my shelf, I pay $60 for something to collect dust. It can collect dust at the store. They can keep restocking it. It's not going anywhere. So I get it when it's cheap.
So in the comments, before we move off of here, Mike King brings up a good one. He says he put a poll and he was asking which one should be the next one to get a remake. He says the verdict was Code Veronica.
I hope it's Code Veronica.
Yeah, Code Veronica would be really good with a remake, but they have to lean in real heavy on making what was her name?
Claire Redfield. We're talking
No,
about the
no,
Ashworth.
the Astro.
Ashworth.
Yeah, the Ashworth girl. They have to focus on making her transformation and her actual, character like really, really intimidating. Because in Code Veronica, it was like she had that cool transformation, and then I just beat her ass in like a couple of moves, and then I was like, "That really?" Like,
I'm a little bit pissed I never beat that game because I ran out of ammo towards the end of the game.
And you saved it, didn't you?
Yep.
Without him.
Didn't have any ammo. But see, the thing is, what I didn't realize now is the knife in that game is killer.
Oh no, the knife is
best knife in any
disgusting.
game.
Yeah, the knife is like you slash at their legs, take them ankles out and everything. It's next thing you know, it's
Dude,
like
that knife
I was trying to do that in Resident Evil 3 demo, and it was not working.
Bruh, I said
no.
the same
It's-
thing.
it's not
I tried
supposed
the
to.
All-
same thing.
First
But
of
I
all,
also
I'm
tried
not
killing
like
him and then
depending
tried
on a
stabbing
knife
him on
in
the
that
ground.
game
too.
ever.
Well, no. Here's the thing about that game. Like, once you get them down with your 3 headshots, use the knife on them.
Yeah,
Because you run
that's
up
what I
to
was
them.
doing,
You
right.
run up and use the knife on them to stab them to death.
Now
because
see,
there's no
I
point
was
in
playing
wasting
it
a bullet.
safe. I just blew their brains out with another
I was
bullet.
trying to do it, but it takes so many bullets nowadays.
Yeah.
Back in the day, Resident Evil, if you got a headshot on it,
It was over. Yeah.
But now it's just
Now-
like pat, pat,
Yeah.
pat, pat.
Now, what I
Like
have
bullets to the
noticed,
head.
what I have noticed with the zombies is that, like, even though they kind of have they do have some buffs in certain areas because for one, they're faster, they can rush you, and I've even seen at one point that they can actually lunge forward at you from sitting position.
Yeah.
But like the caveat, like with them doing all that, is that they're slightly easier to kill than they were in Resident Evil 2. I've noticed that.
Just a little bit, yeah.
Like just that a lot, but like I could tell that there was a slight edge to where it's like, okay, they're a little bit more dangerous, but you can take them out a little bit quicker.
Well, watch. That's probably guaranteed to change once the actual game comes out.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That's
yeah. They want you to spend your your little bit of 45 minutes to an hour playing this demo just to get a good feel, wet your beak a little bit, and then they're going to pull the rug out from under you with the final release on April 3rd, I believe. You know what was hilarious? The posters. They had posters for something that came out in 1998 right next to a poster of something that came out in 2020. I'm like, dude, y'all are hilarious.
The poster advertisements in that subway or whatever were hilarious.
Did you guys find the Eagle Easter egg? No. From Street Fighter Alpha 3?
I only played through it one time because it was like it downloaded.
I may have. I don't remember.
Yeah.
The Top Gun one got me though.
Oh yeah. They did a good job with it. So I mean, that's just to wrap it all up. That is definitely a game I'm getting on day one.
Oh, absolutely. Collector's edition.
The game is always fun.
Have they put out what's in the collector's edition?
I don't know.
No,
I haven't looked.
Would you get it?
I haven't got a Resident Evil collector's edition in a long time.
It's a good one to get. Like
honestly, I
thought about it, but nah.
I'm not even sure which one, if anyone is really carrying it. It might be just exclusive to certain retailers because I know Best Buy doesn't have a collector's edition.
Plus, on top of that, like
with what's going on, right?
Yeah, it's like, are they even doing it?
Well, yeah,
they might not do it. Yeah.
So who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah,
absolutely.
So yeah, you can go ahead and go on to the next.
Go on to the next one. Okay. So you said Resident Evil 3 drops when? April what?
April 3rd.
April 3rd. Okay.
Friday.
Actually, damn, that's next Friday.
Yep.
Next Friday. Yep. So after we get our hands on it, we'll have to kind of give you our feedback on the full game. Yes, I will get it. I'll make that promise to you. I will get it. I will play it, and I will give you a full.
Play it at night. See if you get
sure,
through
fine. I'll play it at night. I'm getting it on my computer anyway, so yeah, I'll play it at night.
See if you can get through
at night.
At night.
Yeah, at night. No signs.
Yeah,
of
not
sunshine.
dusk. Not dusk or anything. Like we want actual nighttime.
Okay. All right. So, yeah, I'll make sure to do that. So, anyway, we'll move on to the next topic here.
This Week in Gaming.
So, This Week in Gaming features Sekiro Shadows Die Twice and a couple of other really good games. So, take a watch.
Culture Junkies!
Hey everybody, we're back, and that was This Week in Gaming. I hope all you guys enjoyed that video, and in the comments tell us what was your favorite one in that short montage of games that came out this week in the past, but this week in the past. Out of those, I think probably mine is Dead or Alive, because I haven't played... I played Jedi Knight a long time ago, and it was fun and dandy, but I was never really, even though that's, I think you could put it in third person, because that was in third person. You could do it also in first person games back in PC, back in the 90s, kind of made me ill. And so therefore I stayed away from, it did. So I stayed away from first person shooter games in the aughts and in the tens. I don't really play them. I tried to play the new Doom, not Eternal, but the 2016 Doom, and I was fine for a while. And then I got to a point where I was like, oh, God, I gotta turn this off.
Those games are actually faster than your average, like.
Yeah, it took a lot longer than it used to.
All right, so let's talk about Dead or Alive.
So Dead or Alive is one of those games, if anybody remembers it, it was...
we talked about DOA 2 last week.
I believe we did, because it was very popular because of the jiggle, but it was also popular because it was a game made by Tecmo using Sega's Model 2 board, and it was very much
it looked exactly like
Virtua Fighter 2. So it did very well, for a 3D fighting game. It's still around to this day, as we all know.
The jiggles was ridiculous, dude.
Yeah, there's like no jiggle now.
I'm like
Jiggle's
when I was cutting the video together, I made sure to have a part in there where after Kasumi did a kick, like her boobs just ridiculously
you had
jiggled
to see
up.
the
like they
jiggle.
were about smacking her in the face.
Nobody moves like that in real life.
Yeah, dude, it was
the
just unrealistic, but at the same time, it was just funny.
But now the jiggle's gone, baby.
Yeah, the jiggle
is gone.
Jiggle ain't there anymore.
It is not there anymore. Dead or Alive 6. I don't know if people are playing Dead or Alive like that anymore.
I don't think they are.
I don't think.
Not to that
anybody talking
degree.
about them.
Not to that degree.
Here's what happened with Dead or Alive. You built an entire empire on sex and sex sells and all that other sort of thing. You tried to quote unquote tone it down in 5, but then brought it back full force anyway. And then you're going to try to tone it down again in 6. People are like, look, just go with what you guys built the franchise on. Who cares? Mortal Kombat ran into the same issue because Mortal Kombat 9, sex sold, and all that other good stuff. Mortal Kombat 11, they're like, oh, we're going to tone it down. And it's like...
See, the thing is, you never looked at Mortal Kombat for the bodies at all. I'm sorry. It was all about the gore and the violence.
No, I understand that. No, that's very true.
That is more now.
But they were just going out of their way to make sure that they were saying, oh, we're going to tone down Sonya, we're going to tone down Melina, we're going to tone down Katana. And I was like, what? What are you doing?
I don't know. To me, it never made a big difference for that.
It's again, to me, it's like, look, a lot of these companies need to kind of just go back to the way they used to do it. It's just, this is what we're putting out, take it or leave it.
Right.
It's like, stop worrying about what people are going to say. Stop with just put your game out, put your stuff in. If you want to
basically you're saying don't cater.
Scantily clad women. Don't cater to Don't cater to anybody. Just put your product out. And just be done with it.
But there's like a couple of things with it though. I think part of it was, I believe, what was the creator's name? Was it Itagaki?
Yeah, Itagaki.
I think that was the name. Yeah, part of the reasons I think like during that merger, I think he got forced out.
He did.
Like around that time, and that's part of it. And it's like now, like it's like they're trying to tone it down, but not really tone it down because at the same time they're sort of milking their fan base dry with all this ridiculous DLC. So
that's the part that's most ridiculous.
Which is purely costumes. All of this is like a bunch of anime influenced costumes, and it's like they're charging premium ass prices for it.
Because each season pass for Dead or Alive 5, if you look at it, they had at least I think 20 season passes, and each season pass cost $90.
It's ridiculous, dude. Like, come on.
And again, like you said, all costumes. And then each season pass had one or maybe in some cases 2 exclusive costumes that you could only get with the season pass. So it's like, and again, they brought that same philosophy back for Dead or Alive 6. So it's just like, you guys don't want this game. You don't, outside of the base game, you don't really want this thing to succeed as a game. You just want it basically to be a platform to potentially get a whole bunch of DLC money, which again, I have no problem with that if that's what you're going to do. But don't suddenly try to act like Dead or Alive is a serious fighting game with no sex appeal, because then that's fake to what the original game was done for.
True.
I mean, if you look at the original one, did they have? I don't remember because I think on PlayStation had the original.
On PlayStation, each girl had 14 to 16 costumes.
Yeah. and
Unlockable.
and that's I think what's missing from him now, because I really don't have an incentive to play. Like, I like being able to play games and unlocking stuff in them, specifically fighting games. Like what Mortal Kombat 9 had that crypt in it, and the one before that had a crypt. I don't even know if the 10 has a crypt or 11 has.
Yeah,
a crypt.
they both have crypt.
No, 9 through 11 have crypts.
Yeah, and it's
From what I
fun
understand.
playing through them to unlock stuff like that, and all that stuff should still be in there if people want to just jump into it and buy the stuff, because today's gaming world, they'll just buy shit. You know they will, but also have it in there for people who want to just open it.
All right,
up.
last comment on DOA.
Well, it's not even so much as a comment on D. This is just going back to his point. I don't really have a problem with game companies putting out content after the fact for DLC. That's fine. But in as much hate as Street Fighter V gets, if like you look at it, it's the only game of all the fighting games out there where you can actually unlock characters by playing the game. Every other one, you have to buy extra characters. There's no other way around it. You have to buy them, so with real money. So it's like, it's a double-edged sword in that. It's like, okay, look, for me, it's like, look, if I want it, I'm going to buy it. I don't really care. But at the same time, people knock Street Fighter V because they didn't like it for this whatever reason. It's still the only fighting game out there that lets you unlock characters. Every other one is pony up the cash. So
That's 100% true. I mean,
All right, so I know some other games on there. Far Cry 5, Far Cry 5 and Crysis. Those two are like, they're like brother and sister games, basically. They're like brother and sister games. Obviously, Far Cry 5 is brand newer, but it's built on the Crysis. Yeah, it's and controversy, right?
What are you going on Far Cry? I don't
But it was built on the Crysis engine, and it's Far Cry has always been Far Cry has always been, well, that's why Far Cry and Crysis, that's why they kind of go hand in hand, is they're built on Crytek's Crysis engine.
Okay. All right.
So like Crysis was always like the high end tech demo. Far Cry was the game that everybody really played and loved. Because it was open world, you could literally do whatever you wanted. It felt like, and even in the game that I was showing, even in the gameplay that I was showing you, dude was rolling around. He was doing fly fishing. He would go from fly fishing to getting into a pontoon boat and pontoon plane and start flying. He rolling around in an 18 wheeler, throwing dynamite out the window. And then rolling up with his dog and fighting against insurgents that have taken over his island. Like, dude, there's a lot of stuff you can do in Far Cry. It's great. But as you said, Jedi Knight 2, Jedi Outcast was mine. I was like, I loved that game. I thought it was incredible because to me, it was the first one where you actually felt like you were doing lightsaber battles. You could control everything, like when you were doing it.
A lot of force powers in it.
A lot of force powers in it. Like you could be light or dark side, and I know that would.
Didn't they have light side fire in there? I think that was like the first time it showed up or something like that, because they had the force lightning, but you had to be dark side for it. Didn't they? Or am I mistaken?
I don't remember light side fire. I don't remember that one. I don't remember light side fire, but they did have force lightning in there if you wanted to have force lightning. So, but Jedi Knight 2, Jedi Knight Outcast was probably my favorite outside of Zone of the Enders. Zone of the Enders, obviously, to me, when we had Zone of the Enders 2 on a couple of weeks ago, I told you that was like one of my favorite series. Obviously, ZOE 1 wasn't nearly as good as the second one, but it was still kind of like a cult classic, and it was a Kojima hit. So how could I not play it, right?
I believe I got the collection for that.
All right. What'd you like from this week?
I don't know. I mean, Dead or Alive was good. Jedi Outcast, I do remember playing that. I don't know. That's probably about it, honestly. Zone of the Enders, I mean, I had it mainly because, again, the Metal Gear Solid demo, Metal Gear Solid 2 demo. That was the reason I even bought the game. But I did play it. I mean, it was a game I bought. So
it had a lot of potential. It could have been much better. It could have. You could say that about a lot of games, really. Though.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
What about Megashawn over there? He's all quiet.
Yeah, he is. Well, what about you, Sean? What did you like?
Far Cry. I've always been a fan of Far Cry since the first one. What else? Dead or Alive, and given my
of course,
adolescent. Whoa!
Whoa! What? What? I'm speaking truth to fact, man. That's all.
And what do you feel that your truth is? Please speak it. I would like to hear.
You a young
truth
fella?
Might be.
You a young fella. playing PlayStation, and you see him boobs jiggle. What else is there?
Well,
Tell me
as
I'm wrong.
one wise man said a long time ago, there's nothing like a great pair of New York boobs. So
There you
anyway, we're gonna move on. But yeah, Dead or Alive was good. Far Cry, I remember playing the first one was fantastic. As you said, open world. You could just about do anything.
Anything.
Star Wars, yeah.
No
Some
slander.
of the
No slander.
that's why I just said
No slander.
lightsaber. I've always been more of a
Blaster guy.
more of a not even a blast. I don't pew pew. No, that's not how I do. I would rather have some type of assault rifle in my hands, and you just drop me off and come back and get me when I've popped the flare.
Well, the other thing that was in there real quick was X-Wing Alliance. Or the
Yeah,
X-Wing game.
yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I like TIE Fighter more.
TIE Fighter was way better, though.
Yeah.
I love the X-Wing games, and X-Wing Alliance was the last one of the X-Wing games that they ever did. This one obviously was set in the Return of the Jedi kind of time frame, because you were, the last mission in that game where you were flying the Millennium Falcon, and you were doing the Death Star 2 mission. And you actually even had to fly within the reactor. But in a way, the game was a little bit of a letdown, even though it was graphically better. TIE Fighter was still the better game.
Oh, yeah.
Out of everything in the series, as much as I love X-Wing, TIE Fighter was unquestionably the superior game in that entire series.
Because it should have been the same engine.
Right.
The same thing. Just
No, there's something about flying in TIE Fighter, man. It was just different.
I don't know. Waffles over there in the chat talking about Mega Sean with that
Quarantine shape up.
Hey, listen. You tell Waffles from now on until this quarantine is over for him to address me as Sean Zell, because I'm out here got the Sean Zell together. I'm ready.
Wow.
Or I would say a early I would say a nice Heathcliff Huxtable, but obviously the man that played Heathcliff is frowned upon in today's society.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go with Sean Zell out here. I'm trying to do it, but you see, you gotta keep the face smooth. So we all.
Hey man,
I'm ready.
that's like, if there's one thing that is going to be the roughest thing about this quarantine, can't hit up the shop, bruh. That's gonna be. It's gonna be rough.
Whatever.
It's gonna be
short haircuts rule anyway.
yeah.
I mean, but I have a barber, but I don't know if his kids got quarantine. I mean, if his kids got corona, I'm not sure what's going on.
you
But
can't
I am
chance it, man.
feeling neglected.
It is
you can't
hilarious to
chance
see
it for that
all
lineup,
of these news personalities without their makeup teams having to film from home.
I know, right?
Why
Hilarious.
does that remind me of like the scare in Batman '89 when no one could?
Bro,
Yes,
yes,
that's exactly what it
yes.
is. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
She was like 6 nude deaths.
Yeah.
And in other news,
She was looking
she
ragged.
was looking super ragged,
She was
man.
looking ragged. Oh
He
man,
was
she was
just
looking
like,
ragged.
and my man was like, what's the pattern? He was like, what's the pattern? He was like, he was like, mouthwash, shaving cream, underarm deodorant. I was like, dude, this is hilarious. Yeah, this is Batman '89.
Yeah,
100%.
right.
It was hilarious.
Good call on that one. So.
Yeah, all right. So if you want to run it back on This Week in Gaming, make sure that you head over to our YouTube channel and subscribe to the Culture Junkies, and you can watch our great videos, including one that debuted yesterday. For me, it was Tuesday.
No, not only that, if you want to get yourself one of them hoodies that Kenshirio's over there wearing,
yeah.
you may as well head on over to Teespring/stores/Culture Junkies and get yourself some gear.
Yeah, get some gear. Get some Culture Junkie swag. You know,
sir.
Yeah. All right, so we're gonna move on to the next segment. One that I think is going to benefit us all during this quarantine. For the culture. Mr. Megashawn, how are we going to take care of ourselves during this quarantine?
Well, the main thing you want to do is stay hydrated. You want to make sure that you're getting a lot of fluids, preferably not alcohol, but you want to get a lot of water.
No, you said fluids, man. You did alcohol counts.
No. I said prefer. I said a lot of fluids. I'm not saying no alcohol. I'm saying in regards to getting a lot.
Okay.
You don't want
Okay.
a lot of that to come from alcohol.
Yeah.
Staying active, going out on walks. If you are truly a gamer and you want to keep those legs together, go ahead and grab that original Xbox, which has to weigh about 300 pounds, and you can just hold that in your hand, and then you can get in 20 to 30 squats. You can do lunges with it. You can do overhead
The
presses.
brick.
There's many activities that you can do while holding that Xbox will, and it will definitely constitute as a substantial weight.
Okay.
Push-ups,
So here's a
sit-ups.
question I got for you, right?
Yes, sir.
You
Ask me
posted
anything.
posted some
Almost.
videos of okay, I'm glad you fixed that up.
Almost.
So you posted some videos of you in your gym, working out. And you mentioned something about having resistance bands. So what gaming equipment could we use as good resistance bands, would you say?
What gaming equipment?
Yes, could we use as good resistance bands?
Well, essentially, that's a great question. I never thought about that, but I'm glad you asked.
Mm-hmm.
So, essentially, you could use the cords, and not so much for bands, but for working on your
Mm-hmm.
shoulder flexibility and
Mm-hmm.
Starting to warm up. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
you don't want to stretch the cord too much, but
Mm-hmm.
you could utilize the cords. If you're first starting out, you could again. I definitely refer back to that original uh, basketball size Xbox controller. You could use that for some weights. So you could use those in regards to curls. Things got to weigh 3 to 5 pounds. So,
Mm-hmm.
for a lot of the young ladies out there who are afraid, or even some of the gentlemen out there who are afraid of putting on masks, you could definitely use those in regards to hitting shoulders. Now, obviously, none of these are going to be 15 plus pounds. So you want to keep the repetitions high and then, and keep it to 3 to 4 sets.
Now, one of the things I did notice in the video that you did have is you had like household items outside of
Yes.
Yep.
the gamer realm. What were some of the household items for those that do want
Well,
to do
you could
something since
use
they can't get to the gym?
a gallon of water, a gallon of milk, based off of everybody bombarding Costco and
So
Sam's
you
Club.
said it was a gallon of water. Was it like that heavy water that Batman was using in the '66 movie? Just asking, man. Just asking,
Yeah,
man.
yeah. I mean, you could try that.
Okay.
But you want to use even laundry detergent, especially if you've gotten it from a Costco or from a Sam's Club, and it's and it comes in bulk. Anything that comes in bulk is going to add a nice amount of resistance. So you can use that again for overhead presses. You can use it to sit up. You can use it to curl. You can use it to lunge. You can use it for Russian twist. Actually, this climate's a little tough in regards to Russia, so you can use it as a American twist. So these are just all these things that you want to do, and you don't have to go anywhere. So, despite the gyms being closed, and definitely want to encourage the outdoor activities. Obviously, in a small setting, whether they say no more than 10, whatever that's going to do, but no more than 10. And if you choose to not leave the house and gaming is all you're going to do all day, try to stand up in between matches, in between fights, in between X-wing battles, and definitely want to, do a couple push-ups, do some mountain climbers, knock out a couple jumping jacks. You just got to stay active.
Hey, man, you know what? Look, I know Mega Sean's doing this. He probably would even recommend doing some planking while gaming. You can do it, right?
Yeah, you definitely can. In
could.
between each match, go ahead and hold the plank. But remember, you want to come down and see me at 3507 Queens Boulevard, and you want to come to Elite Training, one of the greatest gyms ever.
All right.
But no, that's the address for McDowell's.
Yeah,
24619
I know
Yeah, I
that.
thought that sounded a little too familiar.
I know exactly.
4619
like,
West Ward in Dearborn Heights. But no, the main thing though is just trying to stay active, even despite this quarantine that's currently going on. Just as a gamer, and to my fellow gamers who have more time, to game than I do, just staying active is the key, and hydrated.
Yeah, because Mega Sean doesn't want us all to end up like those dudes on Wall-E. Remember how on Wall-E when everybody was just sitting in them chairs and they lost all their muscle mass and they basically were rotund and fat and couldn't really stand and
Now,
walk and
what's
stuff
crazy?
like that was
It's not
wild.
even Wally. Even I watched that movie. What was that? Upward? Is it Outward? Upward?
Outward.
Onward.
Onward.
Was it, wait,
The
which
new
one
one
is
that
it?
just
the
came
new
out?
Disney movie, Onward.
Yes,
Yeah.
Onward. Wow, I was way off. Even in Onward, you know, it was talking about how everybody was practicing magic and everybody was having a great life, and then boom, everybody got lazy, and then it was all about convenience, and all the magic was lost. Man, what
That's
a message!
yeah, but
What a message!
that's also social commentary on the real world. You know,
Indeed.
they
Yeah,
sneaking that
for
in there.
sure. That the magic is lost. As much as I love video games, you still got to get out and do something. You know,
Yeah.
get the magic back.
Yeah.
A
Right.
little PSA. Get the magic.
Okay. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Okay, but yeah, you know, for those of you that don't know, Megashawn is full-time
Sean
coach.
Zell.
Yeah. Oh, excuse me. I'll say he's
Shanzel.
but see, wait. He said make sure Waffles addresses him that way. He didn't say we had to. Anyway.
Well, in
Anyway.
regards to the quarantine, it's Sean Zell. So you got to, you know.
Okay. All right. So, Mr. Sean Zell here, he's even though he's one of the culture junkies, but he also runs a gym in Dearborn, fitness trainer, and you know he does very well for himself. You'd be very wise to take his sage advice.
Whoa. The way you said I do very well for myself, they might not think that I need that stimulus package. I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay.
Okay.
We all still need that stimulus
Okay.
package.
Yeah,
regardless, so
I wasn't trying to mess with the money, man. I'm sorry about that. You get the bag. Go ahead and get the bag. Secure the bag.
Yeah, all jokes aside, I'm about
Yeah.
3 more weeks of quarantine away from putting this ski mask on. So we need to go ahead and get back to work.
he's not wrong.
Yeah. No.
That's fair though.
Yeah, that is.
But
that
no,
is-
and
Back
also,
to work, man. I ain't never been out of work, man. What the hell's going on?
well, that's because you
Slanging them
'cause
drugs.
you're exactly you be slinging drugs.
Yeah,
So
you're considered
yeah,
essential.
You're
You're
essential, sir.
super essential.
Yeah.
And the worst part of it is
Speaking-
you got to deal with old
speaking
people.
of. Ooh, speaking of, you just leave the back door open. I'll take care of it.
Man, no, but in all seriousness, though, he's 100% right on that. Though a lot of people are taking the time on the quarantine to kind of be extra lazy, and that's not really a good thing to do because the more inactive you are, the more lethargic you become. Your immune system goes down too. So.
Bro.
If you out there being weak with an immune system, you're more likely to spread the virus to other people.
For real.
That's
Because
right.
it's like
Get
I
out,
never
get active, read a book, play a
I never
game you
thought-
haven't played before.
I never thought
Drink water.
I would miss going into the office, man. I'm not kidding. Like, I used to,
I had to say all that now. So you
No,
you
I'm
going a little
serious.
bit
It's
too
like for
far
me,
with it.
going into the office, you know, I will walk, you know, basically when I'm going to get my lunch. Like I'll walk down the street, you know, go and get my lunch. So I was like, you know, nice little exercise, you know, walking outside, going to get the lunch and stuff like that. So you're walking off the calories that you put on when when you're eating. You know, make sure you eat light, you walk off your calories, you're doing good. I'm at home, everything's at your fingertips. You know, you gotta really practice some self-control. Which I do.
Wait,
I don't.
self-control?
Yeah, self-control.
I don't know anything about
Yeah,
that.
gotta practice some self-control, and then you also got to make sure that you come out from the cave of working and go outside. You know, so Megashawn is absolutely right. Absolutely. Tony Young is like he really feeling he got 5 kids in his house. Man, I got 5 kids to feed. I got 5 kids to feed right in his house 24/7 right now. So I have more power to you, man.
It's
Yeah,
like
man.
he's
More
running-
power to you, man. I
he's
can't do
running-
it.
You need to
calling
put
him
some of them
baby
on those
from now on.
treadmills and power your house. Then
Right,
Yeah,
set up,
there you go.
set up 5 hamster wheels, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Not
I was
bad.
talking to Super Nerd Plus the other day, and he said, man, he said, all this time I've been putting off going to the gym. And then I finally joined the gym, and then everything shut
That
down.
boy close.
Hey, that's Murphy's Law on that one.
Murphy's Law, indeed.
All I can say is, though, I don't know. I'm actually very glad I don't have any youngsters or young ones to deal with because that would be annoying.
Yeah, he'd probably kill him already if he had any.
No, not so much
Yeah, you
killing. It was just
Lock him up.
it'd be annoying. It's like, look, get away from my stuff.
Yeah.
You know.
Because they be all around your stuff all the time.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like,
yeah.
So y'all stay over on that side.
Tony Young's like HELP. He's sitting out the right like, I don't know, man. I can't help you, man. We kind of quarantine. You might be on your own there, my friend.
Yep.
Anyway, thank you, Megashawn, for your input on how we can stay healthy during the quarantine.
Sean Zell. Sean Zell.
About to hashtag it.
All right. I apologize. My friend. Sean Zell. Appreciate that. So we're going to go ahead and move on to the next one. Very important topic here.
From the pages of.
So if you haven't seen this bumper before, From the Pages of is talking about some literary works, and this one is actually pretty important. This quarantine is really affecting a lot of industries. Probably, you can't really put one above the other, but for geek-related purposes, the comic shops are hurting really, really bad. Like, because not only are they prevented from having customers come into their stores, now they're not getting product at all. Diamond Comic Distributors just announced a few days ago that April 1st will be the last day that they actually ship product to the stores. So next week is the last week comic stores will be getting new product in the shop. And obviously you can see how that might relate. No new product, no customers, but they can't get customers anyway. But a lot of these people, they rely on these sales in order to keep their doors open. Thankfully, the government has passed a stimulus package for small businesses that can help themselves along. But still, this quarantine without the stimulus package was threatening to possibly, put a final nail in the coffin in a lot of, these little comic shops that are not like a Barnes and Noble that still have a few brick and mortar stores, like our good friends at, Dan and Katie at Green Brain Comics. They had to shut their doors. So, I was wondering, like, with this quarantine, obviously comics aren't going to stop. They're still going to have digital distribution. The comic shops the comic book companies will still be putting out product every single week. So could this possibly push a lot of people to switch from physical copies of comics to digital copies of comics, seeing as how there's no interruption when you have stuff being delivered digitally? What are your thoughts?
Can I? Go ahead.
No, go ahead,
I was going
Sean.
to say, didn't Stan Lee say something about having one in your hand is better than, I think he was talking about boobs as well as comic books, but having one in your hand is a little bit better than seeing it on
a screen or on a
screen,
picture.
yeah.
Yep.
But for a lot of people, as that goes along, we were living in the age of mobility. We got mobile phones, we got digital tablets, things like that.
It's a
whole lot easier for a lot of people to really just hit that download. They can read their issue and go about their business. They don't have to worry about long boxes in their garages or anything like that. Everything's in the cloud. So that's why I was just bringing up this point. Like, could it possibly push people even further into switching to digital comics instead? So,
No.
Sean Zell.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, okay. What are your thoughts on it?
To Darian's point, I'm sorry, to the great Dido's point, I would definitely have to agree with him, because even though I have thousands of digital comics, but there is nothing like having the pages in your hands, a la what Stan Lee was alluding to as well. And even in regards, to my children, to my boys, I'll have them read something on my phone, but to be able to sit down, with my younger son and go page to page, as opposed to him always being dialed in and locked into a digital screen, and then just that time together. So could it affect? Of course it could. Will it? I'm sure some stores won't last, and then if anything, maybe it'll come to 1 to 2 stores every city, which it definitely sucks, for the proprietors, of those establishments.
Totally.
But we definitely need the physical, books in our hands. It's definitely paramount.
Before I say anything, I'm gonna probably let Fallen Marvel jump in there because he has way more books than all of us. I think.
Yeah. Sorry about that, guys. Well, I know as far as I go, it's definitely been harder for me to go out and get uh, some books the last couple of weeks actually. But I have a it's because I'm not as mobile as everybody else. I'm without a vehicle at the moment, so I can't really get around like I want to. Plus, everybody's all quarantined and all that shit. But take it from someone who at one point did used to read comics digitally. Honestly, that's what motivate me to start collecting, because if it's something that I enjoyed reading a lot, I wanted to buy it. So, on one hand, if people aren't able to get out, yes, they have that option to read it online. Whether they phones or a tablet or whatever have you.
Right.
However, at that with the on that same token, it it's really nothing like having that comic book in your hand and reading it, like in the like just reading it right there, because you don't get this. For me personally, I don't really get the same feel uh reading it digitally. Like, it's just, if it's something I absolutely have to, yes, but I'd much rather have a comic book in my hand. And hopefully, I really do hope that the local comic book shops aren't, it won't be destitute for them in the long run with everything going on. Like, I very much hope that they're still around after the fact, because in hindsight, especially for geek culture, we need places like that. They
No.
still need to be around.
Yeah, we absolutely do. We absolutely do. GQ, your thoughts?
Well, I'm going to look at it from the most selfish point of view as possible. There's a few stores that I wouldn't mind if they, have to potentially shutter their business, because I'm going to go in and get all their merchandise on liquidated prices. That's the whole point for me.
Okay.
No, in all honesty, for especially for the store owners, we do know. Hope that this ends quickly so they can get back to regular business as
Indeed.
usual. I don't see this being a big digital push because, again, the average person, if quick, I just want to get it over with and read it and blah blah blah. That's fine. But what's the difference in price between digital and comics and real actual in-store comics?
I think it's 1-on-1. Yeah, I think it's 1-on-1.
Oh, so to me, then no. Again, that's always been my problem with everything digital: games, comics, movies, all of that. If you're going to charge me the same price, I want something to show for it. And if Action Comics #1, which I do actually own a copy of, not the original, but one of the very high dollar reprints, I've only ever actually touched that book one time. That would be something worth getting digital, because okay, if I want to go back and read it, I can.
Right.
But like the average regular book that's going to be like, maybe like one of my weekly books or monthly books or whatever, if I'm going to pay $5 or whatever it is, I want to actually have a book in my hand. If I'm going to send you guys $60 for a game, a download, I'd rather have the actual game in my hand. And physical game on gaming side is always ends up being cheaper than digital, which is hilarious. That you can just go out to the store and get the games usually cheaper than what they're selling it for digital on the PlayStation Store or Xbox Store, which is stupid.
Yep.
So that's part of the the main reason I always say physical will never go away. And once this is over with, these stores, if they're smart, they'll do some back issue sales, do some specials or whatever to get people back through the door, because they're going to have to, recoup all this lost time, all this lost money. So, it is what it is. We'll, again, as they say, this too shall pass. We'll get through this one. But for the comics, store owners out there, feel for you guys for,
Really do.
Again, your business is people walking in the door. Anybody that has a business where it's walking through the door. Same thing with Sean Zell. He's a personal trainer. Obviously, people walking through the door is a big part of his income.
Yeah,
So,
especially like the people that are just walking in the door, like you said, curious, what you got
Right.
going on in here,
Right.
that type of deal. So,
so for a comic owner, that's comic store owner rather, that's their bread and butter. They need those people that come through. They need the people that come in and get their pull list and all that other sort of thing. So like I said, some of the ones that I would love to get my hands on, some of your high dollar stuff, super cheap. If you guys have to close your doors, sorry for you. But for the other ones that we do have, good friendship ties with, I hope you guys all the best. Wish you all the best. and that this gets over with.
So
quickly.
are we playing partisan here? Playing favorites
I play
here?
favorites all the time.
All the time.
The whole point of being a person is to play favorites. Are you kidding me?
Tony Young says the smell of paper, the practice concentration, and the care you have. Yep. The care you have. Use not to tear the page. Okay.
Wow, maybe you should have read that before you read it.
No. Yeah, because like this is literally what he typed here. I'm reading
He's
exactly what he
probably
typed.
saying the care that you have to take to make sure you don't tear pages and all that other sort of
physical
thing.
comics are an experience, he says. Essentially. Yeah. And no, he's not
Tony
wrong.
Young, we apologize for Kenshiro's
I'm
inability
reading
to
exactly
read.
what he typed
Maybe
here.
you should have read and interpreted.
I'm not gonna put words in people's mouth.
You don't have to put words in, you can just paraphrase.
Okay. All right. Sure. He also said Comixology is doing Mr. Burns excellent right now with their hands, which they might be, but honestly, the appeal of comic shops is going in. You're meeting the shop owners, and 9 times out of 10, they are very friendly.
It depends on where you go.
I know exactly what you mean.
Definitely
No,
does.
you're not
Definitely
wrong.
does.
He's gotten better.
No, he
since
has.
last I went in.
I wouldn't know. I haven't been there in years.
It only took him what 10 years.
Right.
Seems like it took him a while, but
Dude,
last
he
time
was
I
like the
went, he
most
seemed-
crotchety dude I had ever met.
I was in
He
there.
was so unhappy.
I was in there with my sweets, and he didn't seem as like when I remember going in
That's
there in my early
bad.
20s.
Yeah. No,
I was just
you're
like,
right. He's
a lot better.
You know why? Because he's got a couple more people of color working there.
That could
That's
be
one
it.
part of it. Part 2 of that is I guarantee he lost out on business. For just being that way. It's like
pretty sure.
it's like if you
Oh, he had a rep.
yeah, and
Totally had
it's
it right.
like and the thing is, you guys know me. If I find a collectible I want, I'm going to get it. If even I avoid going to your place just to find it somewhere else, then that means you're screwing up.
Yeah.
So
No, absolutely. But no, like I said, 9 times out of 10, they are very friendly. You love hanging around. They're very knowledgeable, especially like Dan and Katie. I love going to Green Brain. When we do free comic book day for them, part of the reason I love doing it is because of them. I wouldn't. If it was another comic shop, yeah, we probably would do it. But because it's them, they make it fun to be in, and they do a whole bunch of stuff for the community. They're pillars of the community. Dan and Katie. They're and other comic book shops could definitely follow that same example. So I guess I'm basically saying that comic shops serve a very big purpose, and I really hope that they that they are able to weather this storm and not be adversely affected by everything that's going on right now.
well, realistically, free comic book day is the reason why comics will never go fully digital, because it'd be a waste. It'd be a lost opportunity because free comic book day, of course, promotes literacy. And yeah, you can read something off of a phone screen or a Kindle or whatever, but it's not. It's not the same.
No.
It's like you got to have something in hand.
Right. No, I don't disagree with that. Especially because I love, as much as I talk about, just collecting comic book art and framing it, I would still get those key issues. I would still get those, and save those, absolutely.
I don't know. You
Those would
can't
work.
grade a digital copy.
No,
of a
you
book.
can, and you cannot. No, you cannot. Did you get your books back, by the way? No?
It's a couple month process.
Oh, okay.
So when they come back in,
Oh, I wonder
you
if it's
will
going
be
to get
the third
slowed
to
up
know.
because of when it was going to be third. Wow, I love how you snuck that in there. Oh,
Well,
okay.
for one, the comic shop owner
Yeah.
gets it before I do. I get it before he does, and obviously you'll be on the next in line. So
Yeah.
you'll be the third to know.
So, I hope that things probably aren't going to get slowed down too bad because of what's going on here. So, yeah, I'll never understand why Kenshiro likes to pick on me. I wonder why. Tony. I wonder why.
It's because you're there, sir.
Yeah.
Look at it this way: be glad that we pick on you versus ignore you. If we ignore you, that means we just don't like you.
At all. Right. Anyway, so let's get to the main event. We got a really juicy topic to talk about with you guys. You're gonna enjoy it.
Eviscerate.
Oh boy.
The main event.
So, spinning out of the conversation that we were just having about comic books dying, another industry that is very adversely affected is the movie theater industry. We know that AMC closed their doors, Imagine closed their doors, and as every governor, especially the governor of Michigan and Ohio and other numerous places have basically issued stay-at-home orders and forcibly closing businesses that are trying to deem themselves essential but really aren't. Movie theaters are on that list. They are now closed. Nobody's going to the movie theater. I think what they say last weekend was the first weekend the box office was at zero. Like nobody could go because nobody was open. So an interesting article came out last week, and it postulated a theory. At Wonder Woman 1984, or Wonder Woman 84 as it's called, would go straight to digital to HBO Max. Now, as outlandish as that sounds for them to do, it had me thinking, okay, if obviously these movie studios have these digital copies of these movies ready and available to go, they could show them the very next day after, movie theaters show them in the movie theaters if they wanted to. So I was thinking, could this possibly change the nature of the way movies are viewed? And could some people prefer watching movies, new releases, at home instead of going to the movie theater? Your thoughts? Like, I'll get to that other part, but your thoughts. Not GQ, because GQ definitely wants to go last on this one.
Yep.
I'm going to go to Sean Zell. Sean Zell, what are your thoughts on what I just said?
Well, I mean, the name says it in itself, but I I agree on. Actually, I'm on both sides of the fence. I enjoy going to the movies by myself. I enjoy going to the movies with my family. But there are times where I love being able to just sit here and watch whatever it is that I want to watch and not have to pay the extra, 30, $40, because if you take a family to the movies, you probably going to drop $70, $80. So let's say, I believe the price point for a lot of these movies has now been 19.99. So to spend 19.99, so $20 to get a brand new film in the home, without having to pay for, and for me, if I'm not going with the family, I'm a matinee guy. So that's $4 or $5 for me. But if you take the family, then you got to pay the premium, so we're already past $20. Then there's popcorn, then there's possibly pizza, then there's soda. So now we're at 50, 60, 70, $80 when I could have watched it in my living room, eating what I already had in my refrigerator and, and had a ball. But me, I enjoy, just from being an actor and just having a love of the art. I enjoy going to the movies, but I do think that it's possible for them to do these releases this way because everybody doesn't have, the financial means to get up and spend, 80, $90 to take their family out to a movie when they could just as well spend the 20 in home, so that way the production company or the studio is still getting their money. Obviously, the theaters would take a hit because they wouldn't be getting the profit via concessions. But I understand both sides, and I actually do both. I won't say how I do both, but I actually do both. So, um, but yeah, so that is my take on it.
Okay. Fallen Marvel?
Uh, I'm wanting to be more diplomatic about the situation, much like Sean Zell is, being able to see both sides of it. I'm still leaning more toward the theater going experience in comparison, though. While I do see convenience in being able to see a new movie at home on your couch,
Right.
and all that stuff or whatever. It's like I get the appeal, I understand it, just at the same time, I'm also thinking like on the flip side of that to whereas in this like it's not something I can see that would help long term, just on the simple fact that there are a good number of people that do watch stuff through certain means. And to be honest, that would make it more enticing because for one, you don't, when they do get said movies through certain means. You know, it's usually the image is usually degraded. Sometimes, like, people have done really good about cleaning it up a little bit more to make it look bearable, but you know, you still have the the audible sounds and stuff, and the extra soundtrack to the movie that shouldn't be there and whatnot. But in this case, when you have something that's available day one, where somebody could throw $20 on, at this point, it's like, well, hey, I got a HD copy of this that I could just get and just look at. I don't have to spend any money. That would hit the film industry a lot harder in that regard. So that's why I'm more so on the theater going experience more so than the at home experience.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that's something that's only viable for right now because these these places aren't open to see these movies and have that experience on the giant screen and all that stuff, and like, you know, whatever is out and having that crowd experience. It's like
Mm-hmm.
it's weird not having that experience there. It's especially if you're spending that much money, and on top of it you're spending $20 on a movie that you essentially don't keep. It's basically expensive as digital rental, you know. So
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's like I said, I see both, but I'm still leaning more toward the theater going experience.
Right, and I can see that. Go ahead, Dado.
You
Excuse me.
coronavirus.
No,
No.
not at all.
You over here scaring the hell out of me, bro.
You'll be
Stop.
all right. You'll be all right.
No. You'd expect me to say the stay at home thing, but nah, not for movies. Specifically movies I want to see in the theater. You cannot beat a movie experience. Nobody's going to have the biggest screen at their house. Nobody's going to have a sound system like that at their house. You
Right.
might have some chairs like that at your house. You might have some popcorn like that at your house. That's about as good as you getting. As biggest TV that most people going to get is about an 80-inch TV. We got a TV here that's big as a goddamn basketball court. And it is amazing. So just with saying that, I like going to the theater for specific movies. Now, not all movies, in my honest opinion, need to be seen at the theater. And there's a lot of movies that is just...
That's fair.
Yeah, that I would rather watch at home because that experience is not needed. But the experience for almost any action film that's out there is theater. You're not going to... I don't care about going to see a comedy on a basketball size or a drama, and maybe horror movies. I mean, I like horror movies, but because my she's a little sensitive when it comes to horror movies, we watch them at home. Hey, I mean, you are. There's nothing wrong with that.
This man
I'm not
getting
saying-
himself in trouble in the studio.
I'm just saying it's easier to watch those at home.
Right.
Because if she needs to take a breather, she needs to walk out of the room, we can, pause it. And that's fine and dandy. But for certain movies, man, it's theater all the way. Until I can have my freaking basketball court.
Which you know will never happen.
Well, I
you
wouldn't
know
say
that would
never. I mean,
come on, man. Let's be for real.
If Jeff Bezos can become a billionaire,
Even Jeff Bezos ain't got no basketball court size
sure?
movie
I'm gonna
theater. Yeah,
say-
I'm pretty sure.
he probably doesn't. But I guarantee if he wants to.
Sean Zell was going
He
to say
can
something.
afford to have
Or
it.
cousin Sean Zell. There you go.
Yeah.
Oh,
Cousin
okay.
Sean Zell coming
Okay.
through.
If somebody has it, then that's cool because that's something I would like. I mean,
Okay.
because personally, I don't really like hanging out in crowds. I'd rather be at home.
And you bring up a very good point, right? There's a lot of people. There's a lot of people that have social anxiety.
I don't have that. I just don't like being
well,
around
no, I'm being serious. A lot of people avoid going to the movie theaters until like a movie has released 4 or 5 weeks later, just so they don't have to deal with the other people in the theater. They'd rather have the big screen size, but have the theater to themselves.
All they got to do is go to Star Southfield, and they can do that on opening night.
Star
That's true.
Southfield is
Right, no.
$5 movies no matter
right.
what time.
Yeah.
But there are some people out there that like that. I think they would see some value if there was same day releases on digital. GQ, go ahead.
There is no value to same day releases on digital for anybody except for people that like to just watch it at home.
No, that's what, and again.
But
like
those
I said,
people don't count.
Why?
And here's why they don't count.
What?
They don't count. Here's why they don't count. The movie companies don't care about the people that are going to sit at home and watch it. They want those people that are going to go out to the theater and line their pockets for the first 3 weekends that any big blockbuster is out in the theater. What was it? DBLK Inc. said it very well in the chat. He said that The box office is going nowhere because it's important to these, that these movies have already been, because they've been pirated. Like these first release, like Invisible Man and all that, I guarantee you can go to a torrent site right now and get a high definition copy of that film right now. If this movie had been in a theater like normal, the most you could have got is like one of them little cheap, camcorder copies of that movie right about now. Now, the actual high quality movie, maybe not Blu-ray quality, but pretty close, is out there on the internet now. So you're going to, and people are going to, especially now, if none of these stimuluses come through or whatever, people are looking for everywhere they can save money.
Yeah.
So to release it for $20 through Fandango now or whatever it was,
that was offensive.
Is not going to do you any good.
Yeah,
you're not going to recoup your box office. Movie companies need the box office, period. There is no other way around it, because look at In Game, of course, is an anomaly. It's the highest grossing film of all time, and it's going to be there for a while, especially now that there's a zero box office for right now. But there is no way in the world Disney would have released that as just only watch this at home.
Right.
You know how stupid that would have been to sit through that movie, epic movie that it was, on a small screen.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely
it's
not.
Like it's not even the same.
Yeah,
I would have probably, now granted, I would have watched it,
right?
But I would have been like, no, y'all got to put this back in the theater,
right?
Like this is too big.
To your point, right? So China just said that they're putting the original Avengers and Avatar back in the movie theaters pretty soon.
Well, I'm not going to China anytime.
Well, no. I'm just. You're making a point that's saying that these movies, these spectacle movies, need to be seen in a movie theater, and I don't disagree with you. I've never disagreed with you, because I've said that I'm a proponent of both.
Well, it's because it's a bad idea to disagree with me, because I'm usually right.
Anyway, but go ahead, Shanzel. What were you gonna say?
Well, like I said, another reason why I was always on both sides. Well, not necessarily both sides, but I understand the digital side. But what was it, 2 weeks ago or before the quarantine, I was able to catch 1917 before it had left the theater. And again, that's a movie that the first time it doesn't do it justice if you watch it at home. You have to see it in the theater.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. No. You're absolutely right. So essentially, kind of my standpoint in this, right? GQ brought up that Fandango put out what was it? Invisible Man.
Invisible Man. Something else.
And something else.
Yeah.
They were streaming it, letting you stream it for $20, right? That $20 got you a one-time viewing of the movie. That's offensive. Why is that offensive? You get a Blu-ray for that. You can get a physical Blu-ray, watch it as many times as you want.
Well, I thought it was like I thought you rented it for 48 hours or something.
Well,
however, it's something. It's like, again, it's just expensive.
48 hours of whatever.
Again, it goes back.
I'm not paying that if I can go and get a Blu-ray.
But okay, now y'all was arguing back and forth in Hangouts all throughout before we even did the show, talking about it's cheaper this and that, and you can share the cost with friends and this and that. It's like
no. You better be specific, calling out and saying who the person that said that. I was on your side.
She knows who she is.
Yeah, right.
She's not on the show right now. but when it comes back down to it, like that was the argument of like, it's cheaper and you can split the cost amongst friends.
Whatever. Dude. I don't want to hear that.
It's like I am not sharing. You can't split a digital copy among friends
and watch it. Like if we were able to meet up and watch it, or to have a watch party, that's a different
still not
story.
doing
But
it.
Since we're all, but since we're like basically isolated to our own sections of the country, it's like that kind of defeats the purpose of sharing the cost.
But essentially, kind of I was saying like, okay, so if the movie studios, which are already getting all of their own streaming apps anyway, Disney's got it, Universal's, got one with Comcast, I think, and they also have Warner Brothers is going to have HBO Max, right? So theoretically, they could do direct, releases of their things.
Okay.
And then if because who was it that I forget?
It doesn't matter.
Let me finish. Let me finish.
It'll still
Let me finish. So somebody was arguing down the possibility of Wonder Woman 84 being put in theaters. They're saying that Warner Brothers couldn't do that. They don't have the infrastructure to do it. The only company that possibly could do it and still make a kind of $1 billion off of it would be Netflix, because they have that worldwide distribution or whatever, right? And I said, so theoretically, if the movie companies had set up their infrastructure, theoretically they could do it if they chose to.
No,
now,
they
I'm not
can't.
saying that they would, and I wouldn't want them to, because I too love the theater going experience, especially for the spectacle movies. That's like me going out to the movie theaters. That's like 8 times a year I'll go to the movie theater.
Okay,
and see a
here's
movie.
the actual part of that, though, and here's why they can't do that. The spectacle movies are what makes the budget for all of these art house movies to get made. So without the spectacle movies hitting the theaters, getting billions upon billions of dollars, all of these artsy-fartsy movies that usually end up winning Oscars and don't
I
deserve
love how
them.
we always call them artsy fartsy.
It's because they are. The movies that don't necessarily deserve the Oscars that they get will not be made because you don't have the tentpole movies during the summer months making all the money.
So how do you say that Netflix can afford to do this thing?
Netflix does it because they have access to movies across all studios. For example, the reason Disney Plus works is because Disney is Disney. They have all of their back catalog of decades upon decades of cartoons and movies and just stuff. So they have a huge back catalog to draw upon. Universal Studios has a lot of movies to draw upon. MGM also has a lot of movies to draw upon. That's only 3 companies. Paramount is good, but outside of like Mission Impossible and Star Trek, what Paramount movies really come top of mind for anybody? Not much.
Can't say.
So,
Can't say, Vinny.
so with Paramount,
Can't say Iron Man anymore.
right, because Disney owns all that stuff now. So with a Paramount,
Top Gun.
wow, one movie,
We gotta wait.
You
We
asked
gotta
me,
wait for that to come out.
right? And then it's like, would a Paramount app even float? No, it wouldn't.
No.
So it's
No.
like,
Oh my
it's
God.
like I'm not buying a Paramount app. I'm just gonna buy your movies. I don't need an app to watch your movies. I probably
Okay.
own all of your movies,
Right.
That I care about. So it's like Netflix works because again they have access to everybody. But when you try to pare it down to like super duper a la carte and it's only like only just the Universal films on this app or whatever, that's not enough. It's like that's not going to make me want to subscribe to your thing.
Okay.
That's why, for example, when you were talking about Wonder Woman, they would be insane.
No, they would.
The thing is, Patty Jenkins already confirmed it. They moved it to August. So it's like they would be insane to try to release that on an HBO Max and hope that enough people subscribe and don't pirate the movie and keep that afloat. That's $1 billion movie. As much as I didn't really
Like
get
the first
behind
one?
the first one because it was generic, it still was $1 billion movie. So the sequel is probably also going to be $1 billion
Well,
movie.
technically it was 800 million, but
Yeah, close enough.
yeah, close enough. Yeah, I get you.
So
Well, actually, no, we can't say close enough because Batman v Superman was also $800. We can't $800 million. So
I
we
could have
can't
swore
really-
Wonder Woman on over $1 billion worldwide.
No, it almost did. I think
No.
it broke. I think like it was close to breaking 900 million, if I remember correctly. So, but it was up there because they kept it in the theaters for a while. Now,
Google
now
says
with the
821.
former,
821. Wow.
okay, so yeah, it was up there. So, but as far as the former goes, I mean, we know how that went. So we ain't really got to.
Either way it
that grave
goes,
again.
especially with quarantines being lifted, that movie will either do really really well depending on
Oh,
how
yeah,
far.
absolutely.
Well, it depends because if the quarantines aren't lifted by August, which would be insane, but it's possible, or if it's lifted close enough to August where people are still leery, then that movie might suffer. So you never know.
Definitely.
It could work. It could work one way or the other. But
All right.
it goes back to my original point: is these companies cannot rely on streaming. Streaming is good, and a lot of people love streaming. But streaming is not, with the exception of Netflix, is not bankable like that for the individual companies.
Okay.
If you're not Disney, who it basically owns whatever they decide,
Or Warner.
they
What about Warner?
Warner is good, but Warner ain't on their level as far as quality. Because like Warner Brothers movies have just been hit or miss with like when it comes to the Marvel stuff. Now,
Okay.
granted, people hate on Star Wars, but it still makes billions upon billions of dollars because it's Star Wars.
All right.
So-
let me get to the chat. There's more than a few really good ones in the chat, right? So DBLK Inc., which is Harold Smothers, who came over from Facebook, came over to our YouTube. He was saying how imagine if Endgame was pirated, and he was basically saying your point. Imagine if Endgame was pirated, and it was where is it? But they'll be pirated with Blu-ray quality on day one. It will on the hunt way back. Even Apple exclusive, the banker is out. The quality is too good. Piracy would be crazy, especially with 5G ready. Okay, so basically, he's saying that releasing it day one on digital would totally hurt it, right? Go ahead, Chanzel, and then I'll find some other ones.
I agree, but I disagree because, I can't speak to DVD quality, but there was, despite how tight Disney tries to keep it, like there was pretty solid copies of the movie out, but a lot of us, in anticipation for the epic conclusion that we were going to see, did not want to bother with that because it wasn't in the theater. So would the banker suffer as GQ had alluded to? Would a artsy fartsy movie suffer? Of course, but I think no matter what, people were still going to see Endgame at the theater just based off of it being a gargantuan movie. So you want to see it on a gargantuan screen.
No, there's always gonna. Yeah, there's always. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, like, that's true, but at the same time, even during that time, we weren't quarantined, so it's like.
Oh well, I mean, like, yeah. Quarantine. I definitely would have watched it, and then once it came out in the theater, then I would have went to see it. I can already speak for GQ though. He wouldn't have watched it. He would have waited till it came out at the movie.
See, but if I know Disney, like, more than likely they probably just would have put the theatrical release on hiatus until things cleared up. Like, they wouldn't got about to release that until they knew it was bankable, like get the most revenue with that. Because, like, I could see Disney just like, you know what? Everybody's quarantined. Is like, no, we're not going to put this movie out until everything gets settled out.
Right.
So,
and the other thing you have to remember is, like, for example, the Fandango setup is you're paying per movie, basically. So, like, you're paying $20 to watch Invisible Man or $20 to watch Bloodshot or whatever when that drops. It's like, okay, you can track that. You can see it's like, okay, well, we sold 10 million Bloodshots this week. Okay, cool. So that's your $200 million or whatever. But if it's a streaming service and, like, it's just, okay, these people sign up, how do you track it once it's like, okay, they've signed up, they've shared
really
their passwords
how
with
they do that.
14 other people?
Yeah.
How are you going to say, okay, well, we're about to put this movie on stream?
Especially like you said, Netflix has like 5 profiles it comes with,
right?
So
it's like, how are you going to track how many people are really watching your movie or have signed up to watch a particular? Now, granted, you can see spikes in signups in the wall, that sort of thing, but at the same time, if you have the streaming subscription, okay, now you watching whatever they put out, because it would be ridiculous to be like, okay, well, we're about to drop this movie for a day one release, and now you got to pay us another $5 to watch it on top of your already streaming price. People will start canceling like immediately. They'll be like, nah, dude, no, I've already paid for the service, so give me everything that you bring out. That's why that model doesn't work for theatrical, because theatrical is too much of a huge investment that has to be recouped somehow.
So,
and that's usually box office.
Here's one, and this might be the final comment because we've already run over. So, Mike King, who I made good friends with, on the show, on Facebook and the chats, he runs Good Guy Games, and he says. He said, "Where's the start of it?" Sorry. He says,
"You're just making friends and forgetting them that quickly."
No. I'm just trying to find the start. I'm trying to find the start of the comment. So basically, he was saying, once they find out that digital releases of more lesser movies, AMC will have their own movie streaming app. It's coming. It's like they can get more from this than making mostly concession money. A digital subscription costs more than a one-time fee, and
hey, wait, hold on. A digital
studios
subscription.
Here's his last. He said the studios would get more of an annual pay versus hoping the movie hits big when they know it may not. In the case of Birds of Prey, where Warner Brothers kind of maybe took a big risk, didn't really invest a lot in the marketing, and that kind of
risk. That was just a bad movie.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to disagree with that because there isn't.
Like, let's just be real. It was a bad movie from go, because it's like, you're going to call it Birds of Prey: The Emancipation of One Harley Quinn, big long ridiculous subtitle. Either make it a Harley Quinn movie or make it a Birds of Prey movie. Don't try to have your cake and eat it too. You knew Harley was your main character. Call it the Harley Quinn movie. End of story. Don't try to like, fudge it and say we're gonna have. It's like, look, the only time you had Birds of Prey in that movie, spoilers, was at the very end. That was cheesy. So that's why that movie failed, because it was marketed wrong and the movie itself was dumb. No extra excuses on top of that. That's just the truth. But going back,
hasn't that been their track record?
That's they've
More or
earned
less,
that though.
yeah.
They earned that. They made that bed. They got to lay in it. That's on them. That's and then we're not going to turn this into DC bashing, because that would be easy. I'm going to take
Too
I'm
easy.
going to take the high road
Too easy.
and answer his actual question.
Right.
Going back to the AMC app thing, it could potentially work. Here's the problem. Movie theaters make way more in concessions than you are actually giving them credit for.
Agreed.
Movie theaters during the first 3 weekends,
Agreed.
the first 3 weekends make almost as much as, not as quite as high, but they make probably 25% of whatever the box office is for a particular film for for opening weekend.
Right.
Concession stands probably are like 25%
Dude,
of that
the profit
total.
margin on popcorn is
That
ridiculous.
quesadilla we
Especially
had
where
last
you
time
go,
was
especially at
$11.
AMC.
Yeah.
Yeah, and movie theaters have become smart about it. They have like the one that we go to. We go to the Imagine. Imagine, you guys are welcome to send a check.
Oh, Imagine is awesome when it comes to
Right.
concessions.
They bring stuff to you in the theater. You can order hot food. You can order, obviously you can get your popcorn, and they got the Coca-Cola drink, super machines.
Right.
And they got the frozen drinks.
Hey, just don't order the White Castles. Those are frozen. They're
That's
not real.
First of all, you never ever order a slider anywhere but the place that makes the slider.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
if you get a frozen, if you order a frozen slider, that's on you.
That's on you.
Yeah, it was on me.
Absolutely.
Garbage.
But no, they have cheese sticks and mozzarella sticks and all. Again,
quesadillas that are $11.
They have come for a very far point beyond the original. We have popcorn, candy, and soda. That's like literally what all movie theaters used to have back in the day. Dollar stores all the way up to your big Cineplexes. But it's turned into, you can get chicken wings and pizza and all the other sort of stuff. They are making bank on that, because every food I've just listed is super duper cheap to make, but they sell it to you for a ridiculous premium. Plus, on top of that, a lot of these theaters have bars in them now. And you already know bars know how to make money on selling you alcohol that's watered down. So they are making an insane amount of money on these opening weekends, regardless of the fact that, yes, the studios take their huge cut of the profits, because that's where box office profits come from. The fact that the theaters thrive on those opening weekends because of concessions is not going to be lost on this. So turning all of that into an app is not going to even scratch the surface. It will be the same thing, unless that app is a super lockdown of you can't share this password with anybody. If we see more than one IP on at a time under an account, you're blacklisted. And you do that, you cut out the majority of the people that are going to sign up for your app. So it's a really, really vicious cycle of Netflix has got it because they have the ability to basically tap into everybody, and Disney is bigger than most any other company, so of course they're going to be successful. So those are your games that are in town. Of course, Hulu is partially mainly owned by Disney anyway, so that doesn't even count anymore. So that leaves what else, streaming-wise?
Not a whole lot.
Not
There you
much.
go.
I mean,
So there you go.
Only
So
other
that's
thing
why
is just like the free TV
You got
apps. That's about
Exactly.
it.
Amazon.
Amazon, and again, Amazon is
Yeah,
great, but
yeah.
but how much stuff really truly drops on Amazon outside of The Boys, outside of a
Their
few
original
things here and
program.
there?
Yeah.
Right.
No, but I'm
I
talking
know
about
Onward.
movies, though. I'm talking
I
about
know Onward.
movies.
I believe Onward, Bloodshot, all of them you could get via Amazon.
Yeah, the cinematic thing that they added.
Yeah.
But are
Yeah,
they
so-
exclusive to Amazon?
No, they're
No,
not.
no,
That's
no,
what I'm
no.
talking about. Amazon as a vehicle for entertainment streaming wise is not the big destination yet. It's there. They got the infrastructure, but how much stuff have they dropped that is like, dude, I have to go and get Amazon Prime so I can watch this. Outside of The Boys, probably
Not a
not
lot.
much.
Not a lot.
I
Like
can't think
all I
anything.
can say is that the library in general is pretty good, especially if you're into like old school stuff, because they have like a lot of like old action shit on there.
And that's
So-
great, but
And
as
that's
far as
great,
it-
but at the
yeah.
same, but it's like, to your point, it's just like that's not enough to where it's like it's going to like really make a dent in that type of
Nope.
business model.
All right. So as soon as this blows over, the theaters will open their doors and movies will be back to where they're supposed to be.
And they're going to flock in droves when they are able to go.
Right.
We're going to see, like, remember how it was back in the 90s when going to the movies, like, it was just full of
you mean
people?
back when the Star Theater first opened?
Yeah, just exactly like that.
Amazon supposedly has it on here as you buying the movie. It's not. That's what it says.
Now, see, that's different. That's different than what Fandango was doing. That's different than what Fandango was doing. So, I appreciate that. But no, like, when the movie theaters do finally open back up, like, everybody's going to be going. Mm-hmm. Like, it's going to be packed theaters for damn near everything. I kid you not. Because, what? Wonder Woman's going to be out in August. Probably Black Widows might be competing with it either the same weekend or the very next weekend.
If I was Disney, I would push Black Widow back to sit right on top of Wonder Woman.
Hey, they might do that.
Let's get that DC Marvel showdown that we didn't get because
here's the thing.
Because they chickened out on moving Justice League away from Civil War. From Civil War. Oh man, that was the most chicken shit that thing ever, man.
Here's what it was, dude. They moved it before they even knew it was Civil War.
Yeah, they did. It was Captain America 3, and they were like, "Oh no, we don't want to go against that." I'm like, dude,
you don't even know it's like you don't even know what it is.
Right? It's so weak.
That was BVS because Justice League competed with Thor Ragnarok.
That was so weak, though. That was so weak of them to move.
Yeah,
that was weak. Anyway, guys, we've run over about 15 minutes because it was a great discussion. I think it warranted us going over. But we're gonna go ahead and wrap up the show now. We want to thank Sean Zell for gracing us with his presence. Hope it's not too long before you can join us again, and maybe when this quarantine is lifted, you can actually chop it up with us in the studio. Because man, it gets even liver when you're in the studio, brother.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah,
definitely miss you guys.
Yeah, we miss you too, bro. So we will be back next week, Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central.
From an undisclosed location.
I wasn't even saying all that, but okay.
It's an undisclosed location. Oh. That's all they need to know.
All right. So go with whatever he said,
just
I
in
guess.
Just in case the feds
say something.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Y'all ain't 6 feet apart.
You're right. The men in black coming through the stores like, excuse me, sir.
going through like papers, please.
All right. Papers. Let me see your papers. Anyway.
Hey, I ain't gonna lie. I'm gonna be like Dr. Jones.
Yes.
Punch him in the face. Throw him out the blimp. Be like, no ticket.
Do exactly where I was going.
I'm gonna watch that when I get home.
Oh man, awesome. Oh man, that movie was so great. Anyway, y'all, we hope you had a fun time watching Culture Junkies Live. We know we had a fun time entertaining you. Make sure you stay safe out there. Wash your hands. And clean up after yourselves. We'll be back next week, Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central for episode 206. I'm your host, Kenshiro. We'll see you guys later.
Good
night,
guys.
everybody.
Have a good one. Some jumping jacks and push-ups and squats.
Yeah, I add that to the list.
I'm surprised he didn't say. I'm surprised he didn't say.
Watching you falling.
Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't say.
I know. That's what I'm
surprised he didn't say you should do some squats while you're doing